Hello everyone and welcome back to Danganronpa IF, a side story, sort of parallel universe, IF storyline in the Danganronpa universe, taking place in the timeline of the first game, focusing it seems on Makoto and sort of Makoto. But anyway, let's continue, shall we? It looks like Makoto's identity is about to be revealed to all of the other Ultimates. Why the hesitation? Shouted the foolishly honest Taka. As my classmate, I have complete faith in you! From behind him, Hifumi Yamada, the ultimate fanfic creator, murmured to himself as cold sweat ran down his cheeks.
Well, look at that. I guess this is what they call a checkmate, huh?
Why don't you just fess up already, you fucking bastard? In contrast to Hifumi, Mondo Awada, the ultimate biker gang leader, was royally pissed. However, there were some students who were busy questioning Monokuma instead of Makoto. Kyoko, right? Hey, you're not coming to save us? Shouted Leon Kawada, the ultimate baseball star. You should hurry up and charge in here already. Monokuma looked at Leon and shook his head softly. The police can't help you right now. Not only are you guys hostages, it's possible that the entire school's been rigged with explosives and poisonous gas. I hacked into this Monokuma robot to investigate that for myself. Then what about everyone on that DVD? What about everyone outside the school? Asked Sayaka. The memory of the DVD she was forced to watch yesterday still weighed heavily on her mind, but Monokuma didn't have a clear answer. I don't know anything about any DVDs, but there are definitely terrorists causing havoc out here. Law enforcement around the world is in shambles trying to deal with this. That's impossible! Sayaka shuddered and collapsed to her knees. Sayaka. Next to her, Chihiro Fujisaki, the ultimate programmer, was unsure about what she could do. Behind her, two other girls stood silently. The first was Toko Fukawa, the ultimate writing prodigy. She seemed to be trying very hard not to look at Makoto as he lay bleeding. The other was a quiet girl who hadn't talked about herself much, named Kyoko Kirigiri. Unlike Toko, Kyoko was watching over everything intently, as if she were studying the scene of a crime. From Makoto's breathing patterns to subtle changes in Makoto's facial expression, nothing was escaping her attention. Suddenly, Toko began nervously talking to Sakura. So anyway, let's just say that Makoto woman or whoever over there is a terrorist. Hurry up and beat her to death or something. We don't know that yet, said Sakura. My fists do not mete out justice based on simple speculation. Sakura tried to get near Makoto to examine his wounds, but Monokuma stood in her way, shouting, "Don't come any closer!" This meant that Makoto was the only one who could get close to Makoto. She had ended countless lives on the battlefield. She knew from experience. If she didn't treat Makoto's wounds, he would die. His wounds were not immediately fatal, but if he continued losing blood, he would eventually slip into shock and die shortly thereafter. Please, you need to treat Makoto first. Absolutely not, said Byakuya, harshly interrupting Makoto. Tying you up and examining the back of your right hand is our first priority. Hey, Makoto's in danger! Now's not the time for that, said Aoi as she cast a worried glance at Makoto. She was still having trouble understanding the situation and hadn't decided if Makoto was suspicious or not. Byakuya was about to snap back at her, but Makoto's actions stunned him into silence. She took a deep breath and then Makoto removed the blonde wig from her head. Where there were two long blonde pigtails only a moment before, there was now short black hair. She cleared her face of all emotion, and when she spoke, her voice rang throughout the gym. I'm not Junko Enoshima. My name is Makoto Ikusawa. The student stared wide-eyed at her open confession. All she did was remove her wig and clear her emotions. But in doing so, the person the students had recognized as Junko Enoshima vanished from their sight. The terrorist that had taken her place continued to speak in a calm, stoic tone. I helped lock everyone inside this academy. The confession on a seaside cliff moment. Oh, that's Hifumi.
The confession on a seaside cliff moment has finally arrived!
Hifumi blurted out.
Wigs are against school regulations, Shunko. I mean, Mukuro!
Shouted Taka. As if stirred by their cries of excitement, the other students began clamoring among themselves.
Huh?
Said Yasuhiro.
So Makoto's wounds are, like, real? Does that mean the stuff about terrorists and whatever is all real too? So everything that's happened these past few days wasn't a bunch of staged events?
As if the reality of the situation began dawning on Yasuhiro, all Leon could say to himself was, "Shut the hell up!" Byakuya just remained calm and addressed Mukuro in a condescending manner. "What does your group want? If you were after money, you would have already tried to negotiate with me. Of course, I'd rather let them die than surrender to your ransom demands. Our purpose is to fill the world with despair." Byakuya scoffed at this notion and began to speak once again. "I see." Monokuma said something similar. "So that ideology is what fuels your terrorism. It's true, if you did anything to me, you would certainly fill the world with despair. But obviously, that would be impossible for you." Aoi couldn't believe what Byakuya was saying, and frowned as she muttered, "How self-centered can you be?" After confirming that Byakuya had no more questions for her, Mukuro looked at Makoto, whose breathing had slowed, and let her voice show some emotion. "But Makoto has nothing to do with this. You can't believe what Monokuma says."
"What did you say, bitch?"
shouted Mondo.
"I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're a terrorist, just like Monokuma said."
Mukuro looked away from Mondo and continued speaking. "That's true, but Makoto isn't involved at all." Celeste coldly brushed her objection aside. "I do not think trying to protect him will do you any good. After all, we all heard Makoto call you by your real name." That's... She had no words. There was nothing she could say to protect Makoto, even though Makoto was truly innocent. Though Mukuro was the ultimate soldier, her powers were largely limited to battle. Even a normal high school student could outwit her when it came to debate and negotiation. If she were the ultimate negotiator, she might be able to convince them that their memories really had been erased. But in her current situation, if she tried to bring up their memory loss, they would think it was a desperate excuse. Even Mukuro knew that. But even if she didn't know what to say, she still knew what to do. "Right now, we need to treat Makoto first." And then, she started walking towards Makoto as if nothing had happened. To the others, it seemed like Mukuro had decided to abruptly change the subject. "Hold it. We will immediately take Makoto to the nurse's office for treatment. However, we must tie you up." That was Sakura's honest demand, but there was no way Mukuro could accept it. If she was separated from Makoto, there'd be no telling what Monokuma would do to him. And between Mondo's hot temper and Byakuya's cold heart, Makoto could easily sustain further injuries under the pretense of interrogation. Furthermore, among those students, Mukuro knew that she was the only one who had the experience treating wounds due to her time with Fenrir. After mulling that over, she narrowed her eyes and went silent. Her mind was made up. She's going to resist them, isn't she? She was determined to fight her way out of here and escape with Makoto. "I apologize, but I need you to fall asleep right now." As she said that, Sakura instantly positioned herself behind Mukuro. She was completely within her blind spot. To a normal person, it would have seemed like Sakura had suddenly vanished. After moving faster than any human being could see, Sakura's equally fast hands launched a blow straight to the back of Mukuro's neck. However, "Sorry, Sakura, but I need to get out of here." Mukuro parried Sakura's fist with a spinning roundhouse kick. Sakura raised an eyebrow at the unexpected counterattack. Mukuro tried to use the momentum of her kick to sweep Sakura's feet from under her. However, Sakura dodged and instinctively struck back against Mukuro's pivot leg. But Mukuro was faster, and jumped up, aiming a tornado kick at Sakura's chin. Sakura deflected the attack with one arm, Then both combatants leapt back, glared, and charged simultaneously. Every blow they dealt was parried and countered by the other, and though they were both unarmed, the sound of their battle echoed throughout the gym. It was like a typhoon had been compressed to the size of a car and set loose inside the gym. The other students were powerless to stop them. All they could do was stare at the breathtaking dance of death unfolding before them. After 10 minutes had passed, an enormous sound of one final impact rang throughout the gym. You know, at this point, I think that surrendering herself might have actually given Makoto a better chance. 10 minutes of him bleeding out? I mean, yeah. The two warriors leapt back once again, and breathed heavily as they stared each other down. My mistake. Though it's only been a few days, I cannot believe I did not notice such an impressive fighter was hiding among us. Oh, that was Sakura, wasn't it? In addition to the surprise Sakura felt, it was as if the battlefield had left her energized. Makoto, on the other hand, looked down at her arm, confirmed it had been wounded during the battle, and thought to herself, she's strong. I don't think Sakura is even taking this seriously right now. Despite being constantly surrounded by firearms, blades, traps, and explosives during her time with Fenrir, this was the first time she had ever been wounded. Makoto was now powerless before the might of the woman known as the ultimate martial artist, and the strongest woman in the world. Just as I thought, I can't beat Sakura with my bare hands alone. If she had been directly ordered to kill Sakura, Makoto would have opted to either snipe her from a distance or poison her. At this close range, she would need an assault rifle just to stand a fighting chance. I don't have time for this. She looked at Makoto and confirmed that his breathing had grown even shallower. I need to hurry. But at that moment, she had no one to turn to for help. Suddenly, Makoto had an idea. It was true that gaining an ally in this situation was impossible. However, she could still turn one person into her enemy's enemy. Makoto took a deep breath before she charged at Sakura. Then she immediately fainted and charged at a different girl. Toko, who had been cowering in fear from the battle between Sakura and Makoto in the corner of the gym. Oh man, she's gonna awaken Genocide Jack. This is bad! Sakura was caught off guard and tried to run after her, but Makoto was one step ahead and reached Toko first. Huh? Why me? I'm sorry. Wait, hold on a moment. Makoto jabbed Toko in her solar plexus, and she fell into her arms. Taka and Aoi yelled out in shock. This is bad! She plans to use Toko as a hostage! Toko! In contrast to their shocked faces, Byakuya just snickered and coldly remarked, You fool. Do you really think we care if you take someone we met just a few days ago as your hostage? Makoto just softly glanced at Byakuya and replied, You didn't meet her a few days ago. What did you say? You met her 2 years ago. Byakuya scowled. Makoto ignored him and haled her bloody arm in front of Toko's face. She then yelled into her ears, Wake up, Genocide Jack! It seemed so random and out of place. Why would Makoto mention the name of the notorious serial killer right now? The students looked at each other with confusion, and suddenly, Toko, who had been groaning in pain, suddenly kicked off the floor of the gym with renewed vigor. She leapt into the air, much higher than any normal human should have been able to. While hovering several meters in midair, Toko twirled faster than a professional figure skater. This caused her skirt to flutter, revealing multiple pairs of sparkling scissors. Countless tally marks were scratched into her legs, like a kill count carved into a fighter jet. If not for this situation, Toko's glamorous jumps and spins would have been a sight to behold. The girl formerly known as Toko Fukawa cackled wildly, her red eyes sparkling at her absurdly long tongue flopped out of her mouth. You called for me, and so I appear. I've got a murder IOU for YOU. Toko! The situation had changed so drastically that even Sayaka, who was silent until now, spoke up. Hey, you flash in the pan! Don't treat Genocide Jack like that depressing little four eyes. That dirty girl doesn't bathe herself at all, so I gotta put in 5 times the effort to rub myself down in the shower. Man, I cannot do an eek, apparently. Destroyed myself. My throat. Toko's sudden change in personality sent the students clamoring among themselves. Hey! Leon yelled. What the hell does that mean? Monokuma just shook his head. There are some things even I don't understand. The students continued to panic at the strange turn of events. Toko, now calling herself Genocide Jack, took out a set of scissors from under her skirt and snipped them with glee as she looked around the gym. Huh? Man, it's been a while since I got to stretch my legs. So, what are you guys gonna do here at the gym what were you guys gonna do at the gym while I was snoozing away? Have an orgy? I understand. I totally understand. You guys need me to cut up your clothes so you can feel even naughtier. Yeah, right. Why the hell would I do that for you dumbasses? My scissors are only meant for cutting up supple, tender flesh of adorable boys. Genocide Jack was causing a ruckus, but when she saw Makoto laying on the floor, she tilted her head once again. Huh? Big Mac, you're like totally about to die. What's the deal? Did the world fill you with so much despair that all of you came here to commit mass suicide? That's so hot, but why are you starting without me? Toko, cried Aoi, get a hold of yourself. Genocide Jack ignored Aoi and let her emotions run unchecked, jumping and dancing with excitement as she held her scissors. Ah, geez, I wanted to stab Big Mac's side myself. This spot right here, where the ribs are kinda showing already. He's not even screaming right now, though. What does that mean? Oh well, maybe I can just get used to this feeling of alienation instead. I have no idea what's going on anymore, shouted Yasuhiro. Or, I have no idea what's going on anymore. This is all the aliens' fault. Yasuhiro buried his head into his arms, but no one was paying attention to him. And the students' attention was entirely focused on Genocide Jack. Using that to her advantage, Makoto began sneaking over to Makoto. As she cautiously picked him up, she confirmed that his body temperature was starting to decrease. I can still make it in time. Though she was carrying another person, Makoto managed to soften the sound of her footsteps as she ran for the gym's doors. By the time the students heard Makoto open the door, it was already too late. She had managed to escape the gym with Makoto. However, not everyone was unaware of what Makoto was doing. Kyoko, right? Oh, no, Monokuma. Monokuma saw her movements out of the corner of his eye, but chose not to tell the students. And one other person, Kyoko Kirigiri, so Kyoko did know, of course. She saw Makoto carry Makoto away, but did not inform the others as she watched them leave in silence. As everyone wrestled with their own personal thoughts and speculations, Hope's Peak Academy began walking a path towards a completely different chaos. With Makoto on her back, Makoto took several trophies from the gym entrance hall, and after passing through the door leading to the hallway, she jammed the trophies through the door's handles. Though Sakura could easily destroy these makeshift locks, it should buy Makoto a few extra seconds. Then Makoto started running to the nurse's office, the place she last spoke to Makoto. Everything necessary for performing first aid could be found there. Her little sister was her enemy. Her fellow Ultimate students were her enemy. Her only ally right now was Makoto, who was on the verge of death. Makoto knew that even she wasn't her own ally right now. Amidst all this chaos, amidst her sister's betrayal and nearly being killed, she believed. She believed she was the only one who truly understood her little sister. That's why she felt she had to protect her. That's right. You didn't do anything wrong, Junko. You just wanted to feel despair, that's all. Right? Because you love me. That's why you wanted to kill me. You were just trying to feel despair, right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry I failed to bring you despair. But at the same time, she wondered. If she saves Makoto and betrays her sister by disrupting her plan, wouldn't that fill her with an even stronger despair? Wouldn't that make her happy? But betray Junko? What should I do? Makoto closed her eyes and listened to Makoto's weak breaths. What should I do, Makoto? On a battlefield where all you need to do is kill and survive, Makoto was invincible. She could suppress all of her emotions and fully immerse herself in becoming a perfect killing machine. But on this twisted battlefield of daily high school life, she could no longer keep her emotions in check, especially around her little sister. Makoto, the ultimate soldier, was beginning to question being ultimate despair. The impulses of the normal high school girl inside of her were starting to affect her state of mind. Even so, the poor girl continued to run through the dark hallways, clinging to this conflict within herself. She was now wandering along a narrow, hairpin path. A path between the hope of Makoto Naegi and the despair of Junko Enoshima. Meanwhile, everyone still in the gym was left in a state of complete confusion. Toko was famous for being a prolific author. But even though she came across as unsociable and depressing, her mind-blowing transformations seemed to have just tossed all that aside. Toko is Genocide Jack? Sayaka trembled with fear as Jack tilted her head and stuck out her long tongue. Huh? What's with this reception, you guys? You guys didn't know who I was? Have I been found out? Or have you known all along? And why was the sullen samurai dressed like that? That outfit didn't look good on her at all. The sullen samurai was probably referring to Makoto, which means Toko already knew Makoto in advance. Confronted by that shocking truth, the students had no idea where to begin talking. So many things were clearly wrong by this point. But there were a few students, such as Byakuya and Kyoko, who opted to remain calm and observe the situation. Alright, someone better spill it. Who gave Makoto an extra mouth to feed? Oh, that must be Genocide Jack. Right? Who gave Makoto an extra mouth to feed? I don't care if you want to stab him or slice him. I just can't forgive whoever put that ugly-ass hole in Big Mac's side. Genocide Jack spun her scissors in her hands. As she spoke, her emotions and facial expressions constantly changed. Even without the threat of her scissors, she exuded an aura of danger that made her unapproachable. The flank steak of a young boy like... Oh, she's talking again. The flank steak of a young boy like Macaroon is like a bluebird that pops out a golden egg. If you would have just let me handle it, I would have killed him so good that even Tiltil and Miltil would be eager to die. But poor Macutie's heart and soul have been stomped on by such a sloppy kill. That actually sounds pretty exciting too. But I decline. Toko, you're not making any sense, screamed Aoi. What in the world happened to you? Genocide Jack answered by pointing her scissors at Aoi. What happened to me? I got bored, that's what. That sourpuss locked me up a few days ago, but when she went unconscious, I thought I'd totally get to do my thing. But I woke up for all this? My cutie's soaked with blood, and I've got no clue what's going on. It's so damn confusing, all I can do is laugh. No one seemed to be able to get a straight answer out of Jack, so Hifumi made a timid remark.
I've dealt with girls like this in my 2D dating games, but this doesn't even compare. It's like there's a triple S difficulty to clear her.
I can't believe you'd even think of her as someone who's worth clearing, mumbled Leon. It was clear that things were going nowhere, and as if she were responding to everyone else's expectations, Sakura stepped forward. She might be in the throes of confusion. I should try to restrain her for now. As soon as she heard that, Genocide Jack stopped moving, stuck out her lizard-like tongue, and grinned wickedly. Oh, what's up? Are you really gonna fight me, Battle Ogre? Too bad. My lovely scissors are only for cutting through adorable boys. Women should just stay home. I won't taint my scissors with your filthy blood. Replied Sakura. It seems my words are useless on you. Sakura entered a fighter's stance, determined to restrain Jack, but Jack knew she couldn't win in a fair fight, and adopted a strange stance of her own. In a normal fight, Jack would obviously lose to Ogre. But if Jack focused on dodging attacks, the outcome of the fight would be hard to foresee. Really? Even if Genocide Jack is like an insane schizophrenic who has the strength of someone who basically doesn't know their own limitations, and it is insane, frankly. someone who's trained their entire life to become the greatest fighter in the world, I still think would kill her, like destroy her, but hey, it's Danganronpa, let's go with it. Of course, Genocide Jack's physical abilities were only obvious to a few of the students in the first place. The two women exchanged hostile stares as the other students gulped nervously and watched. Except for one person. Kyoko was watching something else. Monokuma? She was watching Monokuma, who was in the corner of the gym, unmoving, as if the white noise emitted from his speakers. Or as white noise emitted from his speakers. He had stopped moving the moment everyone else's attention focused on Sakura and Toko. Ah, so Junko's not controlling him anymore. Junko is elsewhere. It's possible that Madarai's hacking had been disrupted, but an infinite number of other possibilities were also swirling around in Kyoko's mind. She brushed back her hair with a gloved hand. Excuse me, sudden yawn. It's not like I'm bored by this. Anyway, brushed back her hair with a gloved hand and continued to watch. Though she couldn't fully remember her talent, the actions she was taking right now were fueled by pure instinct. The strange situations that kept occurring in front of her were shaking her to her very core. Her mind worked diligently to scoop up countless amounts of information from her vast sea of memories. As if they were synchronizing with the synapses firing in her brain, Sakura and Toko kicked off the ground at the same time, and an intense impact rang throughout the gym. Thanks to the heated battle that was unfolding in the gymnasium, Makoto Ikusawa was able to buy more time than she had imagined. As soon as she entered the nurse's office, she rummaged around for medical supplies and did what she could to stop the bleeding. Though still quite shallow, Makoto's breathing slowly stabilized. Makoto let out a little sigh of relief. However, even though she was somehow able to stop the bleeding, she wasn't out of the woods yet. Miraculously enough, it seemed like none of Makoto's major arteries or organs were damaged. Was this perhaps thanks to his ultimate luck? Or maybe he wasn't actually all that lucky. After all, the only sort of medical treatment he could hope for was partial at best. Makoto couldn't decide. If only I could do a blood transfusion. The nurse's office should have had several blood packs for transfusions. Makoto suspected that Makoto's blood type might be written in his e-handbook, but as she reached over to search his pockets... I see you're reaching for a sleeping boy's clothes. What in the world is about to happen next? Adults can keep playing, but you kids better press the B button, okay? Junko. Makoto turned towards that familiar voice and saw Monokuma standing before her. Okay, it's not actually Junko, it's still a Monokuma. Gotcha. You're all alone with Makoto right now. Just think of me as a cute wild animal, and let your lust lead the way. As the headmaster, I must prevent any illicit sexual relationships, but physical education classes are just fine, Missy. As he looked just like the one that was at the gym, or though he looked like the one just at the gym, it was clearly a different Monokuma. Multiple Monokumas had been placed throughout the entire academy, so it wasn't a stretch for him to suddenly appear out of nowhere. Regardless, the same person was controlling all of them. Makoto had been wary of Monokuma attacking her when she was treating Makoto's wounds, but his appearance at this particular moment seemed to take her by surprise. Junko? Asked Makoto cautiously. Monokuma tilted his head, along with his entire upper body inquisitively. Junko? Who's that? Junko? I've never heard of that country before. No more jokes. Answer me, Junko. You were planning to kill me earlier, right? Junko this, Junko that, what's your problem? I'm telling you, I'm Monokuma. You must be a big disappointment if you can't even remember something like that. You're not just a disappointment as a person, you're a disappointment as a sister, too. You're too skinny, and your brain's nothing but muscles, and your personality is just unbearable. I'm sorry, said Makoto. She didn't need to apologize, but hearing her little sister call her a disappointment yet again was enough to make the ultimate soldier recoil. Monokuma ignored her, and her current situation climbed on top of Makoto's barely breathing body and began poking his cheeks. So, what are you gonna do with Makoto now? I'm really interested in human mating habits, you know? What are you asked Makoto before trailing off. Monokuma lowered his tone and began whispering into her ear. Makoto's a pretty nice guy, huh? He even sacrificed himself to save you. He's so generous that it's actually hopeless.
He's not dead yet, insisted Makoto. Despite her firm tone, she couldn't hide the fear lingering in her voice.
That's the most disappointing thing about you. You can't even say, I won't let him die.
I won't let him die, Junko. Makoto could barely get a word in as Monokuma erupted into poo-hoo-hoo
and ahs
and continued to torment her.
As if you could do that. Too bad, no regrets. See you tomorrow. Is this all because Makoto was the first person to smile at you? You, a disappointing, depressing, unladylike, inhuman killing machine. Despite denying... that was the end of Monokuma's lines. Despite denying that he was Junko, Monokuma began speaking at length about Makoto's past. This contradiction was very much like Junko, and Makoto was so shaken that all she could do was watch the bear prattle on and on. Only the fit survive in this world. The only thing that kind-hearted people can do is die, you know? As proof, you're gonna watch Makoto die really soon.
He won't die. Makoto's tone of voice had become irregular ever since she took off her Junko wig. Aside from her conversation with Makoto, everything she said as Junko was from a script that her sister had written. But now, there was no script for Makoto to rely on anymore. Makoto was just treating Monokuma like she would treat her own sister. If the other students saw her acting so weak, they'd never believe that she was the same person who fought Sakura in the gym. And not just that, if anyone from her mercenary past could see her now, her stark change in attitude might make them think that she was someone else entirely. Monokuma continued to rail against Makoto.
Nope, he's gonna die. I know it's sad, but you just have to face the facts.
Monokuma wriggled his limbs and danced around, then pointed right at Makoto's face.
Because Makoto is going to die by your hands.
Huh?
Infighting among the terrorists. The big bad terrorist silences the weak-willed Makoto before he can leak any information. Doesn't that happen all the time? In the end, all the desperate things that you said in the gym turned out to be lies you just told to escape.
Makoto frowned at Monokuma. You can't do that, Junko. I won't let you do that. As she blurted out those words in a trembling voice, Makoto was gripped with the confusion about what she had just said. Am I defying Junko right now? Why? It was a strange feeling. To Makoto, it was like she was standing on the edge of a tall building and imagining what would happen if she jumped. A destructive feeling akin to holding a friend's baby and wondering what would happen if you tripped and fell. Before she knew it, fear and anxiety had suddenly taken control of Makoto's heart. As a member of Fenrir, as the ultimate despair, Makoto had killed innumerable people. She had handled live grenades before. She had descended from the sky in a parachute as anti-aircraft weaponry fired all around her, or as anti-aircraft weaponry fired around her. Her heart never wavered on the battlefield, but now it felt like it could collapse at any second. Monokuma, however, was as stable as a tree, and slightly tilted his head to the side.
Huh? Weren't you listening to my story? I'm not the one who's gonna kill Makoto. You are.
What are you saying, Junko? Monokuma began giving a strange explanation to a very confused Makoto.
Do you know what the suspension bridge effect really means? It means you push the person you love off a bridge, and they'll be yours for eternity.
I haven't heard that at all.
Life doesn't always follow what your textbooks say. It's sad, but that's what love is.
His words made no sense, and Makoto couldn't think of anything to say as she stood there, dumbfounded. Meanwhile, Monokuma continued his little speech, intentionally saying things meant to antagonize Makoto.
Basically, this is your big chance, you know? If you kill Makoto right here and now, nobody will ever take him away from you again. Makoto Naegi, dead by dawn. The last name he ever spoke was Mukuro Ikusaba. The last person he ever smiled at was Mukuro Ikusaba. Doesn't that sound wonderful? There was a certain appeal to Monokuma's twisted suggestion, and Mukuro found herself unsure of her own judgment. This is wrong. It has to be wrong. But it's really Junko saying all this. So that doesn't mean it. Doesn't that mean it's right? No, this isn't Junko. It's Monokuma. Monokuma. And are you sure you want to help Makoto? Once he gets better, he's gonna know everything. He'll know what you did to your classmates. I can't believe you would actually erase your friends' memories of their time together and force them to kill each other. Makoto might get mad at you and say, our real enemy isn't that bear, it's her. Do you really want him to blame you for this? Mukuro's face turned pale. Or are you gonna kill the others? If everyone except you and Makoto dies, you'll be able to spend the rest of your school life together. We can't hold a class trial with only 2 people. It might be a good idea for you both to live the rest of your lives in this academy forever. No, that's wrong. And what are you gonna do if his memories return? It's not like you were dating Makoto or anything. You were just watching him from afar the whole time. So does that mean that Mukuro, even before all this began, was holding a torch for Makoto? That's surprising. Man, you're so shy. You can shoot people's hearts and brains no problem, but you can't even woo some stupid boy into liking you. Do you want to know who Makoto had a crush on before his memories were taken away? Mukuro trembled as Monokuma continued pressing the issue, gradually loosening the screws, keeping her heart secure. Obviously, it was Sayaka. So Mukuro chose to pretend that she didn't hear anything at all. All emotion vanished from her face, and she looked silently for Makoto's e-handbook. If you're looking for his blood type, it's not written in the handbook. Mukuro's face turned pale. Within 5 seconds, her plan to ignore Monokuma already had failed. But since your headmaster is made up of 50% kindness, I'll tell you anyway. Makoto's blood type is B. As soon as she heard him say that, all the anxiety, horror, hostility, malice, and dread churning within Mukuro had completely vanished. Thank you, Junko! Mukuro's eyes sparkled without a hint of suspicion. So she turned her back to Monokuma without a hint of suspicion, and walked towards the refrigerator containing the blood packs. Fresh blood packs should have been prepared before the plan took effect. They'll last in the storage for 21 days. They should still be good. Despite her emotionless face, Mukuro let herself feel a small amount of satisfaction as she took a blood pack from the refrigerator. As Monokuma watched her, his normally emotionless eyes twitched ever so slightly. If a third party could see his face right now, or even if the other students could see his face right now, they'd wonder, is Monokuma surprised? That's right, they'd have the same shocked look on their faces as if they were seeing Monokuma for the first time. At that moment, a whisper crept out of Monokuma's emotionless face. There should be a limit to how disappointing you can be. It was far quieter than a mosquito's wings. Even with her battle-hardened hearing, Mukuro couldn't hear what he said. Monokuma shook his head, and the voice returned to normal. It's not that I care that you, the ultimate despair, has hope in anything. It's not like I expected much from you to begin with, so this will at least help me feel despair. But seriously, you disappoint me. Just so you know, despair and disappointment are 2 completely different things, okay? They're as different as bears and pandas. What are you... Mukuro's body started to shake as she turned back to look at Monokuma. She hadn't started talking any differently than usual, or he hadn't. Junko hadn't turned off the voice modulator and started talking in her real voice or anything. And yet Makoto was utterly terrified. She was terrified on instinct, not as a soldier. Half the reason she was terrified was because of her instincts as the ultimate despair, and the other half was because she knew she was Junko's older sister. Even though, through Monokuma, her instincts were telling her that Junko was annoyed with her. Junko? Why are you annoyed? Is it because I betrayed you? Or is it because I didn't die like you wanted? Because I didn't die like you wanted me to. Ugh. Let me take a quick drink here. I'm just stumbling constantly. Okay, let's see if that helps. Ugh. Sulked Monokuma. I'm beyond annoyed. I'm really, really angry. I'm really, really disappointed right now. I'm so pissed I could take a rage nap right now. Monokuma's anger didn't seem any different from his usual anger towards the students, but Makoto could instinctively sense another emotion mixed within it. Right now she could feel that Junko was feeling hopeless disappointment. It's normal for someone who's disappointed to lose hope, but for the ultimate despair, disappointment means something else entirely. To them, disappointment was tantamount to losing despair itself. Makoto was a member of ultimate despair. At her sister's behest, Makoto had soiled her hands many times in order to fill the world with despair. Despite her pride towards being a member of ultimate despair, there was a clear difference between Makoto and her sister. Junko Enoshima was despair incarnate. She was born in despair, letting it infect other people's hope so it could rot them from the inside out, twisting them into her own image. For Junko, feeling hope was its own despair. Creating despair in others created despair in herself, which caused her to feel both intense pain and intense bliss. Junko had walked the fracture created from the conflict between pleasure and penance all her life. Eventually, the fracture would widen until it swallowed the world and tore it in half. But Makoto, on the other hand, had neither hope nor despair for the world. At least, not when she was a member of Finrare. Ever since she was a child, Makoto believed that she was meant to spread despair because of her sister. She didn't harbor any ill will towards the world. She simply accepted she was meant to spread despair, and chose to walk the same path as her sister. The doubt she felt was only a recent development, when Junko told her about the plan. When she watched the world burn at the hands of terrorists wearing Monokuma masks. She never wavered once. However, as soon as she heard about her sister's plan to make their classmates kill each other, Makoto included, a strange feeling began to stir within her. What started as a seed of doubt soon grew into a thorny vine ensnaring Makoto's feet. As soon as she disguised herself as Junko and finished meeting the other students, as soon as she had confirmed that everyone's memories had been completely taken away, that vine began tightening around Makoto's heart. They're gone. Junko's the only one who knows about me now. That's it. But that's no problem. It's just like old times. Things will never go back to how they used to be, but that's fine. This should be fine. She had relinquished the past 2 years she had spent with her friends so that she could betray them and deliver death and despair unto them. Though her heart ached, Makoto was beyond feeling guilt or remorse for her actions. But the question, why does my heart ache like this, still remained unanswered. Perhaps that's why she spent so much time talking to Makoto when he was in the nurse's office. And when Makoto gave her that one particular answer, something changed inside her. In return, I promise that if I do decide to kill someone, it won't be you. The words Makoto blurted out to Makoto weren't improvised to further her role as Junko. It was an honest sentiment from the bottom of her heart. She was even planning to ask Junko herself if Makoto could somehow be spared from her plan. Over the past 2 years, Mukuro's interests had been slowly shifting away from her sister and towards the world itself. By extension, her interests also included Makoto, the first person to ever smile at her and make her feel connected to the world. He was like a sapling of pure honesty that had taken root in Mukuro's heart. But by the time she realized that, the tree had already rotted. As Mukuro struggled to understand the situation, Monokuma let out a sigh and said, "I wonder which part of you is a wolf, anyway. You're just a dog that blindly follows Junko's orders. What does the tattoo on your hand even mean? Are you just a bitch who's pledged her loyalty to her owner? I bet Potoko would say that. I'm positive." Monokuma continued to talk as Mukuro stood in confusion. "I was obviously lying when I said Makoto's blood type is B."
What? Cried Mukuro. You lied? Junko.
A normal person would have been suspicious. I never thought you'd actually believe me just now. I must have misplaced my eyes because I totally did not see that coming. Not even with my ability to predict the future. How shocking. Jeez, I'm about to start crying my eyes out like some sort of robot cat. Seriously.
It's going to be okay, Junko, said Mukuro. I know our plan kind of fell apart, but I'm still on your side. Are you feeling alright? Because I'll do anything.
Snap!
A harsh sound came from Monokuma's mouth.
That sound was one of my circuits overloading. It's been so long since I've felt this angry.
Meet me on the roof of the school.
I'll smash out all of your baby teeth.
Monokuma started shadowboxing in front of Mukuro, who remained frozen in place, clutching a blood pack in her hand. She still looked confused, and Monokuma threw up his arms in frustration.
You're so disappointing I can't even predict it anymore. Rawr!
A threatening roar burst from Monokuma's mouth as he leapt at Mukuro with sharp claws extended. At that moment, her face became completely emotionless. It was not a conscious action. The defensive instinct she honed during her time with Fenrir temporarily suppressed her emotions as she countered Monokuma's attack. Mukuro grabbed a nearby IV stand and used it to parry Monokuma's claws. However, Monokuma's claws seemed to be made with a special alloy, and easily slashed the bar in half diagonally. But instead of following up his attack, Monokuma continued talking to Mukuro.
I guess you're not much of a disappointment when it comes to fighting. In fact, if you were so pathetic that you died from that single attack, that would have been interesting in its own way. But right now, you're just incompetent at everything.
I'm sorry, said Mukuro. I couldn't help blocking your attack. But there's no way I can fight you, Junko. After all, I'm all that you have. I'm the only one who understands you at all. Mukuro's words were riddled with endless dismay. The contrast between her usual stoic self and the way she was acting right now was so stark, people might assume that she had multiple personalities. However, Monokuma just quietly stared at her. He was perfectly still, as if all of his functions had powered down completely. But Mukuro continued to share her feelings. There's no way I can just leave you alone. And then, Monokuma broke his silence. But, at that moment, a monitor in the nurse's office lit up, displaying a girl's face, Junko Enoshima. At the same time, a voice completely unlike Monokuma's began to play from the speakers. Hey, Mukuro. Junko! It had been several days since Mukuro had heard her sister's real voice, though her face remained emotionless. Excitement sparkled in her eyes. However, that shine immediately dulled. I'm grateful to you, Mukuro. I mean it. Junko's voice emanating from the speaker sounded very gentle and kind. Junko? I'm really sorry. I said so many mean things to you. I even tried to kill you earlier, and I was about to make you do something horrible just now. Even though I know about your feelings towards Makoto. You don't have to force yourself. Even if you didn't notice it, it was totally obvious to anyone looking at you.
You never cared about the class photos, but when Makoto said he was going to take one, you made sure you were facing the camera. And then, Junko Enoshima, the ultimate despair, flashed a smile. A pure, sweet smile. On the monitor, she looked like a normal high school girl teasing her older sister. And yet, Makoto could feel despair and anxiety encasing themselves around her. I always thought you should have tried hard to take pictures with Makoto. But I guess that's what makes you so disappointing. Still, even though you're disappointing and annoying, I still love you. Makoto trembled upon hearing those words. I love you. That's all she ever wanted to hear her sister say. Makoto believed. No matter what Junko said, she believed she really loved her. She believed she was the only one who could truly understand the despair known as Junko Enoshima. She was naive. As soon as she heard Junko say, I love you, Makoto realized she never completely understood her sister. It was only at this moment that Makoto finally understood her sister's feelings. Junko's words right now were kind. Perhaps that kindness was completely honest. The words I love you might have been true as well. However, for Junko Enoshima, this was her way of saying goodbye. She was severing the ties between them. It was painfully clear to Makoto. And then, before she could even say anything, the girl in the monitor made a remark that cut Makoto to the bone. I'm sure someday you'll make your dreams come true. Ultimate despairs never talk to each other like this. A simple truth stabbed Makoto's heart. Junko had no further use for her. Her own sister was parting ways with her. Makoto had dedicated over 10 years of her life to the cause of ultimate despair, and at this moment, it all counted for nothing. But those years no longer mattered to Makoto. Her sister's rejection was more than enough to send her into the depths of despair. That's why Makoto, even now, clung to a small sliver of hope. Meanwhile, Junko was still on the monitor. Yeah, right. Did you really think I'd say something that nice? You're so annoying. Can't you just hurry up and disappear already? Makoto hoped Junko would say something like that. She hoped she'd start verbally abusing her again, or calling her useless and incompetent. Makoto was no masochist, but she'd prefer to be showered with bullets in contempt than endure this kind of emotional pain. But, I love you, Makoto. Bye-bye. The monitor went black, leaving Makoto to process the horrible goodbye she'd just received. And as if on cue, Monokuma started moving again. Isn't family love so nice? By the way, did you know that in about half of all murder cases, the killer is a family member? Monokuma spoke in his usual tone of voice, but it was unclear if his words were getting through to Makoto. Makoto let the blood pack in her hand fall to the floor and tightened her grip on the iron bar she was holding. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Junko. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. She mumbled quietly, as if she were chanting a spell, and walked past the blood pack on the floor to Makoto's bedside with the iron bar in her hands. I'll do it properly. I'll make sure I do it. So. Oh? Said Monokuma, perking up. What are you gonna properly do to Makoto with that big, thick rod you got there? Are you gonna do him? Or are you gonna do him in? Either way, I'm starting to feel some heart-throbbing excitement. Makoto looked like she had been completely broken. Monokuma walked closer to her with eager anticipation. Suddenly, Monokuma's body silently floated into the air. Huh? With no expression on his face, Monokuma tried to see what had just happened to him. Oh, that was Monokuma. And in the blink of an eye, an iron bar ripped through his body. The tip of the bar, which had been cut diagonally earlier into a sharp point, went straight through Monokuma and stabbed into a surveillance camera. The lens was completely destroyed, and the camera shot out sparks as it broke down, The iron bar was still stabbed into the surveillance camera as Monokuma dangled from the other end. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but only static came out. A few seconds later, his functions came to a complete stop. Without making a sound at all, Makoto had kicked Monokuma into the air. As soon as Monokuma's power source and his bomb circuit had perfectly aligned with the surveillance camera in the nurse's office, Makoto plunged the iron bar into all three of them. No normal human has the skill to utilize such a technique, not even an ultimate. All the hesitation within Makoto had vanished. Her eyes sparkled like a panther stalking its prey at night. A tense aura surrounded Makoto, even more so than when she fought Sakura earlier. Ignoring Monokuma's lifeless form, she looked at Makoto as he breathed softly and remembered her sister's parting words. "So this is despair," she mumbled to herself. "I'm so sorry, Junko. I never really understood what despair was." She spoke without emotion, like a machine. "But it's going to be alright now. I finally understand." Hidden within her, passions began to stir. "So, I'll make sure I make you happy, Junko. I'll make sure I fill you with despair. I'll save Makoto. I'll make sure the others don't die. I'll let them escape from this place. I'll deal with the people on the outside, too. You invested so much time and killed so many people for the sake of this plan. And I'll destroy every last remnant of it. For you." This was not an act of vengeance towards the sister who had abandoned her. This was an act of mercy. Stuck between the ultimate despair and the hope she'd gained from Makoto, Makoto was being refined into something that was unlike despair or hope, and she had no way of knowing where her path would lead. Oh man, that was incredible. That was so good. I love this. Anyway, I got it in the episode because my throat is destroyed. Anyway, hope you guys are liking this as much as I am. Whoo, man, am I into it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.